Okay. Well, we had a great question about how do we improve communities and co-working and entrepreneurship. Have I got that right? Okay. As the moderator, I'll take the first part. I'm a part of the Small Business Mentoring Association, 160 mentors, and we do a lot of work in the Yarra Ranges, Yarra Valley area. But we find that at the moment there needs more sustained work in the community to make sure that entrepreneurship prospers. So how about I start with you? Will, you've got a big community. You can give us a bit of an introduction about Silicon Beach. Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, my name is Albury-Wodonga. I'm the lead organizer of Melbourne Silicon Beach. Now, if you don't know Melbourne Silicon Beach or Silicon Beach, it is the Australia's answer to Silicon Valley. So we're a bit different. We are a virtual beach. There are these Silicon Beach communities around Australia. So this it started in Sydney. Meetup communities, just meeting up at a pub for a drink, just getting people out from behind their computers and interacting in real life, because a lot of the tech guys, startup founders, they spend far too much time in virtual online communities. So it is the idea was simple, just to build communities. And from Sydney it grew when Melbourne started in 2010, and when I joined, we had a smallish community for Melbourne, around 1,500 members, but now it has grown to 12,200 when I checked last night. So that's amazing. So we have an intention of spreading this all over Australia. So there'll be one in this part of the world soon.
And events?
Yeah, events. Melbourne has the main flagship event is a monthly pitch night, which has the networking night has now evolved into a pitch night. So after 1 hour of networking, we have 90-second pitches. People just put their hand up and pitch their idea, or they're looking for someone. The whole idea is to get people talking to each other and connecting, finding their team. And on top of that, we have started co-working days, because we don't have our own space, which has become a blessing in disguise. Because we don't have our own co-working space, we have open co-working days around Melbourne at various co-working spaces. So there are co-working partners. So that has become a really good thing, because people can connect to multiple communities without just one community that works. And then education events. So education is a big empowering tool. So we are very big on that. Thank you.
Welcome, Guy.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not doing this. Oops, I've got trouble for Victor. He said, no, sorry.
Well, thank you very much. So my name is Peter Dostis, and I co-founded a business called Runway in Geelong initially. And myself and my co-founder, what we were really looking to do was to support startups and entrepreneurs in regional parts of the state. Because one of the things that we found was that whilst there was a lot of support for startups and entrepreneurs within the capital cities, the regions didn't necessarily have that. And so we started that 3 years ago, and I think it's certainly changed a lot over the last 3 years, and there's a lot more organisations that have started to get involved in regional areas, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Because one of the biggest challenges that we face in the regions is that we're sparsely spread, and we don't have that natural density that the capital cities have. And with that natural density, it means you can easily access a co-working space. You can get a hold of a mentor. You can find coaches who are going to help you around how do you transition from an idea into actually launching that as a commercial business. How do I get access to capital and all those sorts of things. So what we look to do is to start to build those in regional communities, and we're starting to see more and more of that. And one of the things that really excites me is in the northeast in particular, and I have a bit of a soft spot for the northeast because my in-laws live in Harrietville, so we tend to spend a fair bit of time out this way. I'm seeing a lot of really positive activity that's happening. There's things happening with ACASE in Beechworth. You've got startup shake-up that's happening in sort of the Wangaratta-Wodonga area, Wangaratta-Benalla area. Guy's got his co-working space here with the business hub. So there's lots of different things that are starting to happen. And I guess the key thing is there's lots of places where people who have ideas and startups and existing businesses can go to for support.
Right.
Hello again, everyone. Peter, you were talking about in the regions not being as many opportunities for mentors. I think the thing that we all need to remember is most people want to help. If you ask, people actually feel very privileged to help you do something. I moved to the region in 2004, where I've spent my whole youth holidaying here and spending time here. I love the region. And I actually moved here with an idea for a business in a box. And I came here because I could approach people. Regional people are far more approachable than city people. It's easy to walk up and talk to someone and engage them. I think the key is just to remember that people want to help each other. We do innately care about each other, and this is where the value of community, which is the topic that's on the piece of paper, is so important. Without people, which is us, without a place to congregate, whether that be temporary or permanent, and then without a purpose, whether that be in the moment or ongoing, you don't have community, you don't have engagement, but people are willing to engage. As long as we have a common perspective or purpose, at least for a moment, and ideally ongoing, amazing things can happen. And in the regions, I think that's actually easier here. I think that's shadowed by the change in globalisation, where we're all have so much distraction in our life and so many competing priorities. I really find engagement here in the community.
Absolutely.
That's all. I'm going to ask you the next question. I've seen about 20 people at Silicon Beach, young people that have got sometimes only an idea,
Or they've got an idea plus part of the plan. They've all been very, very complimentary, every single one of them. So what do you think the success of your group is, and why should people join?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very good question, because our whole purpose at the beginning of the founding fathers, if I can call it that, young people, the idea was to bring like-minded people together, people who are interested in tech, internet, web, mobile apps. It was basically a tech community. That was the start. But what happened of like-minded people? But what happened was people who have nothing to do with tech started joining because they either got an idea and they didn't know how to bring this idea to life, or they wanted to connect with these tech people, like lawyers, accountant. I myself was an accountant. I used to work in the tax office, would you believe, till last year. Then got a redundancy package and got out of there to do this full time. But I'm not a techie, so there are lots of people like us in Silicon Beach, and these diverse people interacting becomes, that brings out innovation. I don't think innovation comes out of like-minded people hanging together. So we discarded that little bit that was in our Melbourne Silicon Beach description, saying like-minded people.
I think one of the great things about Melbourne Silicon Beach, or Silicon Beach as Attila is converting it, is it's technically borderless. And I am really over the local pub and how long have you lived here, and the local town, you're from the next shire, and you're on the other side of the river, and that's pointless. We're all people. And so what Silicon Beach is doing very well, and what a lot of these virtual communities are doing well, is they're bringing people together irrespective of their geography or their background. It's just have to be the common focus and a purpose to gather and meet. And I think there is this great opportunity. The other point I was thinking of, people in innovation tech. Innovation is not tech. Tech is one necessary component of some modern innovation. But not all innovation is tech. And I didn't have the privilege of hearing Michael's presentation, but transdisciplinary innovation. It's a mouthful, and that's why I wrote TransWhat. Absolutely, the bigger solutions are through cross-pollination and sharing of different disciplines and mindsets. So I think that's absolutely right.
Absolutely. I always say to people, you've got 10 fingers and 10 toes. So why do you only have 2 or 3 people in your founders team? You can have associates, you can have friends and family, you can have alliances. We talked about partnering very quickly before. But it's all worked on exactly what I believe, like-minded people, multi-skilled, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, you've got some money, you've done a couple of startups, you meet some technical people, you meet some inventors, you meet some marketing dudes or girls, and then you put that together to make your team. So the team becomes virtual. As I said, I'm actually coaching a couple of people around the globe at the moment and encouraging them to reach out to other people in other regions. So like-minded is very important, but I'm really pleased you're expanding because I think Silicon Beach is more than this, really is.
The tallest people receiving inquiries from overseas about starting chapters there.
We already started in Manila, not me, but friends of ours. It's great. Yes, I know. In Manila, and we're looking at Jakarta. There's interest in Jakarta, there's interest in Auckland, and there's interest in Colombo. Come from Colombo, and so do I. Yeah, I was born there too, so there you are. And Geelong, Silicon Beach, we started, 3 years ago, but of late it has been a bit inactive, and I've been following Ian's work journey, so maybe now that we have met, we could make that happen. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. And I think the key really is the community and getting those connections together. Because as Guy said, I mean, you've got great talented mentors, and my point wasn't before that they don't exist within the region. But I think the starting point is generally, where do I find them? So how do I find this person that has this particular expertise or who's willing to help me? And things like Silicon Beach, what they do is they start to create those communities locally. So once people then know there is a community, there is activity that's happening, that is my starting point for going somewhere to actually get help. And then that group, I know that they're going to connect me through to whoever else I need to do. But you need that activity to happen because unfortunately, organically, it doesn't happen. And you need to have people. It's momentum, and you need to have people locally within that community that are passionate about making it happen and driving it. Because one of the things that we've seen through experience is across various communities across Victoria, the most successful ones are the ones where there's someone locally who's really driving something within that particular area. Absolutely.
This is where Guy's concept of people, place, and purpose comes in, because we have a lot of communities on Facebook and LinkedIn and all over, but they lack a place. So once you add a place and a purpose, then it becomes a real community. I think that's what we are about.
I'm going to step a bit of controversy into this because we can't have a panel that everyone agrees with each other. Do you agree? Actually, you will. Before that, I just wanted to tell you a very quick story about my mentor, who turns 91 next month. His name is Malcolm McPherson. He taught me that you can't actually do business with people unless you understand how business is going to be monetized. He called it plainly stated credit terms. He said, Michael, are you buying lunch? Am I buying lunch? I'll be splitting the bill. Because I don't want to go to the whole lunch and work out at the end what the arrangement's going to be. I think the biggest problem with entrepreneurship and communities is monetization. I'm going to actually give you a little bit and then throw it to the others, but a lot of people come up to me and say, I want your help, I'd like you to invest, but how do we do it? I'm a Stephen Covey fan, begin with the end in mind. If you want some help, you dictate the terms. You tell people what you want. It's called the ask. What do you think, Guy?
Yeah, Michael.
I think you bring in an important differentiation. When I was talking about asking for help, I'm talking about individuals wanting to improve themselves, and people will give. When you come as a business asking for someone to contribute or help or fund, absolutely you have to have a really clear, ideally win-win relationship.
You have to have that idea, not the other person.
Well, if you don't, then you're going to live by their idea, whether you know it or not. So I totally agree that that's very important, and that distinction between improving yourself versus creating an enterprise, be that a private enterprise, a social enterprise, any enterprise where you're seeking to get other people or entities to invest. You were talking about your mentor and monetisation and goals, and I think one of the key things with this panel was what's the big hairy goal? What's the end goal in mind? And even here with this summit, you jump the hurdles, you run your time around the track, and some days you run it better than others, and sometimes you run a PB. And today I'm going to see value in this, regardless of the outcome, regardless of whether it's a PB. My big hairy goal in the context of this is that at some point in the future, be it 5 years, that like some other people in the regions in Bendigo, in Geelong, the concept of model your master. Don't reinvent the wheel. There's some week-long festivals like this in other regional cities, and we can have that too. And once we're celebrating, other people will gravitate to that, and they will start coming here. So, have an end goal in mind. The monetisation of this, there is no end out, but it's a community-driven thing.
But you have to have some.
You have to have a goal in mind. So what will come from that? Increased investment in the area. That's a community vision of that. So then I talk about the co-working space. Like you say, community costs money, one way or another. How is it afforded? We run our co-working space, and I run it for connections, for future opportunity, for myself, for my children. But we would not be able to do that without the anchor tenants we have. And so many co-working spaces try to live on no revenue. We're lucky that we have a base revenue in our great tenants, Hayes Recruitment, and our visiting tenants like Vic Super and Morris Baker and Lawyers. But again, our end goal there is to create community. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a very good question, because Silicon Beach grew organically without any consideration of monetization. So for the past 5 or 6 years, we've been in existence in Melbourne since 2011, Sydney 2010, and Adelaide, Brisbane, Geelong, Ballarat too, and Launceston few years. There was no thought of monetization because it was just a community partnering with people. We got sponsorships in kind from co-working spaces and event spaces. But now, for the past 1 year, we have been working on monetization because we knew that we have to make this sustainable. Otherwise, when the present crop of organizers retire or die off or just go away, it'll just die, and that's not good for the next generation. So we have formed a non-for-profit company from 1st of July this year, just a couple of months old. And we are now getting sponsors. We have high-profile sponsors like MYOB and Victory Officers, which is an Australian company that has offices right around. So we're getting sponsors, and the idea is to connect all these different geographical locations to each other. For instance, a small business in Albury-Wodonga could sponsor Silicon Beach and get exposure all over the country and Asia Pacific. So we could provide that. So there's great value that we could provide. And co-working spaces could form regional networks. I see Patrick in the audience. We went there to this brand new co-working space in Phillip Island last Thursday. We opened it, and if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can see the video tour of the space. It's a fantastic space. And we connect all these spaces together. So the monetization will come. We are beginning to have paid events, and we're going to have a summit like this. So I'm getting ideas coming here. So let's do it. Let's not wait till the next Digital Innovation Festival. Let's not wait 1 year. We can have this more regularly. So monetization is not a problem. When you provide value, money will come. That's what I do.
Look, yeah, I agree 100% in terms of the commercialisation, and I think I would sort of take your definition of the difference between invention and innovation. That next step, for me, invention is I've come up with an idea. Innovation is you've got to be able to commercialise it as well, and that to me is the clear definition. And they're absolutely right. The other thing, though, that I think is slightly different is that one of the things that I've found, and especially in communities, is that there are a number of people that are willing to help without necessarily looking for money. So I think separate the two. So absolutely, if you're starting a new business or you're starting a startup, you need to have the end goal in mind and how you're going to commercialise that. But don't be afraid to seek help as part of that process. I have lots of people that come to me and say, look, can I just grab half an hour of your time that I don't charge? Because I'm very similar to yourself.
Yep.
I just want to help people get their business off the ground. And you'd be surprised how many mentors there are or business leaders there are that you can actually knock on their door and say, look, I just want some advice around how do I crack into this market, or what should I be doing for something. So I think that both elements are very important.
Absolutely, and I think I've got some tips for everybody in the audience and you guys. I've basically worked hard at trying to work out the monetization. So therefore, if somebody wants some advice, 2 or 3 hours over a period of a month or two, there's no charge, because that's pro bono, that's putting back in. I came out to Australia when I was 17 and I was able to retire at 45. So therefore, I believe that that's a really easy part. The second part is like my friend Malcolm McPherson, who's 91, he never charged me anything. He's been my mentor since 1984. But, I do actually find that if I lent on him particularly hard over a period of a month, I'll take him and his wife, so Judy and I would take Malcolm and Marja to a nice lunch. So it won't be a pizza parlour, it'll be the Hilton, and we'll have a buffet lunch. It'll be a really great bottle of wine. It's not quite monetization, but it's actually giving back a little bit extra, because I've actually got 10 hours in the last quarter rather than 2 this year. The third one is, and I worked it out with the 30 companies that I've invested in, is you can actually do what the Americans call sweat equity, where you can say, you put in, $3,000 or $4,000 worth of work, and you get 0.03 or 1.3% of the company. I've got about 40 of those at the moment. Or you put in $50,000 and your time, and you get in this much equity. Please be sure that you understand what you want, and don't overshoot it and don't undershoot it. Make it a win-win proposition. That's my view.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the things that we talk about is collaboration. And a lot of people misuse the word collaboration and throw the word collaboration around. And for me, collaboration is both parties have to win. And it's about, and I always start, and this is a personal thing from my perspective whenever I'm meeting someone for the first time and looking to potentially form a relationship with them, is I always try to understand what they need and what their problem is and what they need help with. Because then what that does is 2 things. It enables me to be able to say, well, can I help? And can I add value? And can they add value to me? Because by understanding what they need, I understand what I need as part of that relationship as well. So collaboration is really about a win-win, and it is about, are you going to split the lunch, or you going, whatever you're going to do. So I absolutely agree that you need to understand that groundwork. And to your point, that I'm happy to help people, but at the same time, you are expecting them to, at some stage, give something back. And because you may need something at some point. So
it could be an introduction or a conversation.
Absolutely. And it's actually quite interesting, because the whole pay it forward is very intrinsic with us in our organisation as well, and personally. So as an example, with the startups that go through our program, we don't take equity or we don't take payment. What we do say is, if you're successful, and only if you're successful, are you happy to contribute something back to us? And most people, well, everyone says yes, and then I ask them, well, what is that? So I actually let them choose how they actually pay back, if you like.
I was just looking at the time, and I'm mindful that Atula here kindly let us hijack his talk
To talk more about community. Have you shared your big, hairy, audacious goal, Atula?
I'm keeping it for last.
Well, it is last. I mean, there'll be food waiting outside for us, and there's exhibitors there keen to share with you what they have, so that the community can learn about that. But Atula, tell us about Southern Beach's big, hairy, audacious goal.
I like BHAG.
I thought you would never ask. Yeah, I love sharing my BHAG, as it's called, Big Hairy Audacious Goal. So we came out with this when we heard when the report came out from this outfit called Startup Link. You can check it out for yourself, startuplink.com. It's an outfit based out of Tel Aviv in Israel. They rank countries according to their startup friendliness, or ranking according to what kind of a startup nation this is. In 2017 report, which is the first report, we were number 11 in the world, but in 2019 report, which came out in May this year, we have climbed up to number 5 in the world. So thanks to Atlassian and Canva, a few of those unicorns, plus the number of startups we have in Australia for a relatively small population of 25 million people. So there's an algorithm, there's a way they calculate it. I'm not questioning that, I take that because it's a challenge. Right at the top is US, there's no question about that because there's multiple ecosystems within that country. And way down is UK, Canada, Israel, and then Australia. So just below Australia is Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, all those countries are fighting at our heels, so we are all quite close in a bunch. But our big, hairy, audacious goal, and this is not only for Silicon Beach because we need to all get together and collaboratively get there, is to become world's number 2 ranked startup nation by 2025. We're not going for number 1 because we need number 1's help to get to number 2. So I think big, hairy goals are very important even if you're a small business. And especially important if you're going to be a global startup. Because when you have a goal that is outside of your business, outside of yourself, other people really connect with that. Because if your goal is just increase my sales by 20% by next year, why should anyone else care? But when it is a bigger goal than yourself, then it's very easy to get other people involved.
I was a little bit selfish in asking you to all that, but thanks to all that's a great goal. There are some unicorns, as people put it, billion-dollar companies, but there are many, many other startups. And one thing we shouldn't forget is to celebrate small business. I'd really like to throw that in there. People just giving it a go and growing, and I know even some of the people that I've seen today run small businesses. There is a program running at the Hub, which is funded by an organisation called LaunchVic, that has $60 million in Victoria to help grow startups. We have one cohort running at the moment and there's 2 more to come. So if anyone knows someone that's got an idea or an early stage venture, or a new idea within their business and looking to grow it, we've got a 2-day boot camp that Peter's running at the Hub. He's facilitating that. We're running it 1 day a month, just basically have to give time to go and do some homework in between the sessions. There's the opportunity for some one-on-one mentoring with Peter. So that's a great opportunity. I think we missed the opportunity to talk about that. And in talking about that, I forgot about the other point with the BHAG. So, gents, I really appreciate you coming along and supporting the thing. And Michael, I'll let you close it.
Okay. Thanks very much, Guy. Well, look, we're all here today, and what we can, Victor suggested that you connect with us on LinkedIn. Make sure when you connect with someone, you understand exactly what you'd like. And I think one of the things that, Peter, you probably didn't give yourself enough credit. When you meet with people, you probably realign what they think their ask is as well. Do you agree with that? Just one more question.
Yeah.
Can I cover that for me?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I think that it's interesting because we talk about pitching.
Yep.
And one of the most important things when you're selling something or when you're talking to someone is always having in mind what do you want. And what is your ask from that person? Because the hardest thing for me, and you'd find exactly the same, is when someone comes up to you, but they don't actually ask you for anything. And not that that's a bad thing, but for me, if you want my time, absolutely happy to have it, but just let me know what it is that you want from me and be specific. Up front, yeah. So I need help with X, or I need an introduction to Y, or whatever else. Because the thing that you'll find is, there's people that are always absolutely willing to help you, but you need to be very clear on what you want, and you want to make sure you're not wasting their time at the same time as well.
Michael, I remember what the other thing I was going to say was, and that was the tool we're talking about is goal.
Something that I've been told, and I believe is extremely true, is first of all, goals, be specific. Don't say, I want to grow my business, or I want to get fitter.
10 million to 12.
Be specific about your goals. Second thing is to write them down, document them, and write them as happened, not I want to, but I have or I am, I'm going to. And then the third thing is to make them public. A tool is made it public, that drives him to achieve that. If he just writes it in his notebook at home and puts it in the corner, he's told the world this is what he wants to do, and that motivates him inside to do it. So be specific, write it down, and share your goals. And in fact, people will come to you and help you achieve them. And that's that purpose. They go, oh, that's a good goal. I'm on board.
Yeah.
People do ask me when I say this, what's your plan to get there? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. You come up with the ideas, because the most famous BHAG is President John F. Kennedy's speech in 1962, I think, said, we are going to put a man on the moon and bring him back before the end of this decade.
That's the BHAG.
Yeah. Did he know how to do it? Did the head of NASA at that time know how to do it? I don't think so. They had no idea. But they worked it out, especially because he was assassinated a few months after that speech. People were empowered to, they somehow determined to do it. So the plan will come. I'm sure it will come. I have no idea. If you ask me at the break how I'm going to do this, no, we don't know. None of us have that idea. That's why it's a big hairy goal.
And I think setting yourself that target is so important, because it's what motivates you to get there. My story that's very similar to that is when we started Runway, we were lucky enough to get some funding from the government. We got that in November, and I said we will run our first program in April. I didn't have space, I didn't have a program, I didn't have facilitators, but I said that's it, and I'm doing that. And I set the target, and we did. We achieved it. Because, as you said, once you set your target, you'll find out the way to get there, because your motivation is the fact that you've set that target. Without that target, you will take forever to get there.
I totally agree. One last one from me as the moderator. A small company, Cocan, that I took global. We were 1.3 million in Melbourne only, and the CEO and the chairman fell out. They went to lunch. The CEO didn't come back. I became the CEO 3 months later. I was given 3 months to put a business plan together. I put a business plan together to be 25 million by 87. This was late 84. And they all laughed at me. I'm serious. The whole board laughed at me. But we got to 114 million in 9 years. So there you go. You can be done. Well, I'd like to thank everybody on the panel, and I thank you for listening to us. These are real stories. We're real people. So link up with us. Tell us what you want. We'll either say we can do it, or we know someone else who can help you. Thank you.
Thank you.